Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Skookum Session Bigfoot Podcast. We've got a nice little game tonight for a nice heated, maybe you can get into a little debate. That's all up to John the Ripper Schweitzer. So tonight we've got with us, we're blessed to have, like I said, the Rippers with us as usual. We've got Carter Bouchard, author, researcher. Carter, how's it going, man? It's good to see you.
Stunning. You too. Glad you're back with the living. It's cool.
I am.
Awesome.
I am. I'm back up, breathing air again.
Yeah.
It's good to see you, man.
Crypto world. Yeah, good to see you too. Yeah, crypto world's got me really swamped right now. Good thing.
Yeah.
Good thing.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So we've also got Mr. Joe Vogel. Joe, I've interviewed Joe a few times. Good friend of mine. Awesome knowledge. Just a all around good dude. Joe, how's it going, man?
Very well, thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you. We've got Justin Decker. Justin, we've known each other a long time now. Justin is an awesome researcher and wealth of knowledge. Justin, how's it going?
Hey, it's pretty good, man. Hey, I haven't seen you in a while. You're looking pretty good there, buddy.
I appreciate that, man. You too. It's been too long, man.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah, finally got the health under control, so
good. I'm still working on mine, but we're getting there.
We're getting there, right? It's all that matters. Yep. And tonight we are joined. I was on the Basement Podcast with Chad Browning and Bob, his co-host Bob. How are you guys doing tonight? We're so freaking glad you guys joined us.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremiah. We are honored to be on tonight. It was a pleasure having you on the show a couple weeks ago, and I
had a blast, man.
So did we.
We got to do it again, man.
Bob,
do it again.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, man. It's the Basement Hangout podcast.
Yes, I apologize.
We enjoyed you, and we're so glad to be on with your colleagues here.
Yeah, it's our honor, man. It's our pleasure. So, did I miss anybody? I'm kind of, you guys know by now I'm kind of airheaded, so I didn't miss anyone, did I?
Nope.
Okay. Well, I guess we can get started. What's that?
So I've checked all the boxes.
Good. Good deal. Good deal. I'm glad to say it's the first time for everything, right? Mm-hmm. John.
Yeah.
So let's get this rolling, man. You and I talked about this beforehand. So you put it much better than I did. Just to give, we got Justin just came on, Bob, kind of give them an explanation of what we're going to be talking about tonight.
Simply put,
you have a better way. You have a better way to word the words than I do. So
yeah, I've opened my mouth and put my foot in it more than once. Yep.
You're not afraid to do it. That's the thing.
Well, I'm not close enough for you to hit me. And you know me well enough that I'll hit you back.
I do. I do.
Yeah, but no, fact versus fantasy. You've got so much out there that is theory or fact based on theory and experimentation, people doing research, and the rest of it's BS.
Yeah. There's a lot of BS out there, unfortunately.
There is more out there than people want to admit to. I mean, it is all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, to give you an example, it's like Jeremiah. All right, no. I believe that. I've said this, Jeremiah, I think he believes the same way as I do. If it eats, it's not spirit. And if it bleeds, it can die. And if you can shoot a moose with the 308 and bring it down, then there's nothing. I mean, I keep hearing this, oh my God, they shot that thing 3 times in the chest and it ran off. Where is it? Okay.
Right.
Who saw it? Where did it go? Where is it? You hear
I
more.
just want to add, we're all non-kill here. He's just
Yeah.
using that
Yeah,
as
I'm
an
just
example.
yeah. I don't want to be the person. I mean, I hunt, but I don't want to be the person pulling the trigger on something like this. But it's a lot of BS, and there's people believing it right and left.
Too
And
many.
there's more people that, hey, let's feed them some more crap. It's
Right.
down to. And it's all about who can be famous, who wants to be famous, how much money they can make or think they can make.
They're in the wrong field. They think they're going to make money.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah. So basically, that's the kind of topic we were talking about tonight.
So wait, you're saying that someone's saying they shot a Sasquatch or Bigfoot 3
Oh
times
my
in the
God.
chest
Oh, how many
and he ran
times?
away?
Oh, I've heard that
These
story so
guys-
many times.
Oh. How
Yeah.
many times, guys, have we heard that? I mean,
I'm just using an example.
I got
Yeah.
you. Yeah. I'm just coming in late here.
Yeah.
you know, they we have heard that quite a few times as researchers, and well, if you have, produce it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, so John, as far as if I Bob, Chad, I should have asked you this last week when we were all on together. What's your stance on this whole thing?
If you should shoot or not, or what do you mean?
No,
No,
whether
that-
you're a believer or non-believer,
Oh,
or
Bob's
skeptical.
Bob's a full believer.
Shooting was
Okay.
just an example of what you.
Chad's
Okay,
a
gotcha.
believer as well.
Yeah.
I did say
Okay.
some of the pre-interview discussion was about how do you convince people
Yes.
Yeah.
that this is
Exactly.
real when they haven't seen anything, et cetera, et cetera. Hey, I saw Bigfoot, everybody's going to laugh at me, obviously.
Right.
So for me, I was not a believer, and Bigfoot wasn't even a part of my consideration in everyday life. And I just started listening, I swear to God, to podcasts and listening to experiencers and people that were credible. Your average hunter who loved to hunt, and he talks about the time he crapped his pants and now he won't go out into the woods anymore. Or, the cop who basically, has PTSD because of his encounter with a Bigfoot, and on and on and on and on. And your everyday average Joes, I can't discount all those people. So for me, if you can just get somebody to listen to all these other people, they will eventually believe it. The question is, can you do that? Because most of them will say, I'm not listening to that garbage.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Hear it every day, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Well, there's
But,
converts every day too.
There
are
is,
converts.
there is.
And what Chad was saying, I've interviewed about 400 people plus.
Yeah.
I've had 100 reports published to BFRO, and they are telling me fantastical stuff. And some of it is paranormal, quantum physics related
Yes.
type things,
Yeah.
metaphysical things. And you just tell the story, you tell their story, you tell somebody else, that. And, it's not about how well you tell the story, but it's really how curious they really are. Is it a passing fancy? Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I think I saw a movie once, or, that's really interesting. I saw something that really intrigued me. It just depends on what their take on it is, because you can waste a lot of time trying to convince people. I don't waste my time trying to convince them anymore, because it's just barking up a tree for nothing.
It is.
Yep.
Yeah.
You got to
Right
be
about that.
hungry,
Oh, right.
for it, like really hungry, not like, oh, that's cool. And they go tell somebody, I met a guy who knows all about Sasquatch. I mean,
Yes.
that's their badge of honor, and that's all it is to them is that. In
Is
passing.
that.
But you just want to, I want people to come to me, and
Yeah.
actually, and I have people coming to me now,
Mhm.
So yeah, it's a matter of, until they see it, you can relate it all you want. But until they actually see it 10, 15 feet away, staring straight at them, and there's no doubt, broad daylight, I mean, it's like, that's it. They're done.
Yeah.
It's a baptism right there, and it's over with. So, but, I just can't, see wasting a whole lot of time convincing. You just want to share your stories, and maybe
Sure.
the light bulb goes on for somebody. They go,
Sure.
oh, reminds me, Uncle Will,
Yeah, that's just true. That's the way it works. I mean, John, you brought up a great point. About you're not going to turn someone unless they actually see it. But John and I have a good someone we've had on the show in the past, and I've interviewed him on my other show, On the Trail. He's an ex-police officer,
Mhm. Yep.
and You know who I'm talking about, John, right?
Yeah, I do now.
The one-
Yeah.
The guy we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
he was a total skeptic. I've known him for years. My family is friends with his family. He owns an 80 acre piece of property about 15 miles from my property. He was on his tractor one night and he looked down by the barn and leaning against a tree, he said he looked like was just a massive man. Then he got to thinking, that's not a man. It's way too big to be a man. So he rode up on it in the tractor. The thing just stood there, its arm against the tree, staring at him. He said it did not move one bit. It was solid as a statue. And he said, hello. And obviously there was no response. And the thing finally turned. He said, no, his second thought was, okay, maybe this is a massive man in a ghillie suit, because he said, because the hair was extremely long on this one. You guys know, we hear about long hair, we hear about short hair, whatever. He said it was extremely long. So he's thinking guy in a ghillie suit. And, he said it finally turned around and walked away. And he said he tried to process it for a while, but he finally figured it out. He put that together with all the other weird happenings that have been going on this piece of property. I'll send you guys a link to that particular show. Give it a listen because it's pretty interesting. But after that was his first encounter on that property, and he's had several more since. But yeah, and he's upset totally, Carter, like you were saying, he's totally obsessed now, ever since that first encounter, and I got to admit, that's, I've been pretty freaking obsessed too since my first encounter. It's hard not to.
The childhood encounter that I had, I kind of became obsessed after that, tortured myself, like I went to the library and got what books there were. There weren't many. There still really aren't, and I would, I would scare myself as a kid, you get yourself psyched out, and I'd have that book and I'd lay it up, like I'd have to hide it under my bed so I couldn't see the book because it was so intensely scary. And then it kind of went away, and I tried talking myself out of it for years. Like I tried talking myself out of what that happened. I think that can't be what it was. It can't be. There's no way. But then, the realization hit that, okay, you've got to own up to this now. So there's another side to that coin. Skeptics are, like I said, there's people that you could say that you have, what's it called? The eagle silver dollar, and they won't believe you until you actually produce it.
Right.
So, it's no different. It's no different. It's the same thing. If they haven't seen it, or there's no fact or any evidence that it exists, and that's kind of the agnostic view, show me the proof.
Yeah, show me the proof. Yeah.
And that's fine. I don't need to show proof, because I've actually, I've had people that I've spoken to through the years that either the topic came up, or I just happened to mention it. Yeah, I had an encounter when I was a kid, and then I had another one out in Idaho. And they would want to hear what I had to say. And they didn't laugh, they didn't chuckle at me or anything. I didn't get any sort of negative feedback from them, and I try to be as upfront and honest as possible, and tell the story exactly as I remember it. And the devil is in the details, and
Sure.
I've spent the last 40 years of my life going over that first encounter, and then the second one was too much to handle for me at the time. I was in a rough spot. Financially, I had just been working a job for a couple years. I had moved to Idaho and had no network or family base out there. So I was just really serious on my own. So I knew that it was, I was either going to make it or I wasn't. Thank God I ended up making it. But and then that second encounter happened, and it took me 6 months to process that in my head, and a shit ton of Ativan. I couldn't sleep.
Yeah, no, I'm not laughing at you, Joe, but it's a tough thing to swallow.
I mean, I didn't even want to be in the same state as that thing.
Right.
And I knew it was 45 minutes away living in the woods. It's still there.
So I assume that you guys all know that story very well since you've been roundtabling for a while.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple,
Joe's been on my other show a couple times. So.
My Idaho report is on BFRO website. It's under Shoshone. If you go to Idaho, Shoshone County, it's report number 69-141. I just wrote that down. I had to look it up. I didn't know the number. But yeah, it's 69-141 is my encounter in Idaho.
That was the black one, correct?
The black one. And then the one I saw in Pennsylvania, that wasn't I didn't report that to anybody till years later, and I told Stan Gordon about it. Stan Gordon's the one that came out and did the investigation on my stepson's encounter. Okay. And his is kick ass. His is kick ass. We got pictures galore out of that one.
Oh, nice.
A beautiful 200-foot trackway. It was gorgeous. It was a perfect.
Yeah,
perfect,
I remember you telling me that. Yeah.
Perfect encounter, and
right.
But
that's a long track.
Skeptics will remain skeptical. There's nothing you're going to get to tell somebody that's going to change that. I mean, I even tried after that first encounter. I tried to become a skeptic. I'm like, no, that's not what you saw. You're seeing shit or something. This isn't happening. But over time, I came to the realization that it did in fact happen. And a couple years later, I heard a couple people that were residents of the nearby area, a couple different stories, and that kind of got me interested in it again.
Sure.
But being a skeptic is something you either are or you aren't. It's not,
Right.
Like I'm a skeptic that Chrysler makes good cars. I don't think that's true. You could try telling me that, but I would say probably not.
Show me one.
I didn't pick Chrysler out. I just
show me a Chrysler with a red circle around it.
Yes, there it is.
Yeah.
I'll show you. I used to have one. I had a Barracuda, and
oh, nice.
Yeah, it was a sweet car. Unfortunately, had a little bit of unibody rot, and had to let it go. I sold it for $600, guys.
Oh boy.
Yeah, probably should have held on to that. But,
I saw a Yugo the other day, but it had a yellow circle around it.
Yeah. Communist.
Yeah, that's right. We were talking about earlier is that thing that happened online with everybody in these pictures of leaves. So we went into this a little bit last Sunday, and and just here I am out amongst the people and blah 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 blah, the shit they say and the type, and
the pareidolia.
They need help. They need help.
There was one. I gotta say this one because it comes to my mind. I'm trying to remember exactly how it went, but the farmer said that it had to be a Bigfoot because he had some trunks that were down, and he hauling them out. He's going to cut them up. All right.
Yeah.
And they were laying down for him to cut them up. And he said he got back out there the next day, and there they were leaning up in the tree. Now, the key thing was, he said, I had to use my tractor to get them back down. Now, if he had to use, where I'm going with this, if he had to use the tractor to get it back down, took pictures of the things up in the trees.
Yeah, he shouldn't have added that little. I had to get him back down. Yeah,
red circles or something around that would have helped probably.
I've seen some amazing tree structure.
Yeah,
I've seen tree structures out in Idaho that blew my mind. I have photographs of them. They're just fantastic, and I know for a fact that nobody. I mean, I can't say that. I guess I should retract that. I can't say I know for a fact, but my best estimation is that these were definitely not man-made or put there by people, because I was in a place where there ain't no people. And we've all been in that situation where you're in the woods deep and there's no sign of, so usually you'll find a Snickers wrapper or something. You can go to the bottom of the planet and find an empty beer can.
Yeah,
you go out in the woods and you're miles from anywhere. Find some interesting things.
I was lived in Colorado. I've had some survival training. It was formal, but it wasn't with the military. And lo and behold, we went out and we made these brush huts. And the next thing I know, I'm seeing it. Someone's found them and they're saying that I recognize the area. All right.
Oh, so it was actually the
your
area
old
you were
brethren,
in.
I recognize
found.
the area. And
That's hilarious.
Bigfoot made these. And it was teepee structures. We had put them together.
Okay.
And, and we just left them up for the next class. But no,
Yeah.
somebody walked in there. Okay, where's the footprints underneath them? Then,
Yeah.
that stuff happens. So that happens.
Oh, it does. Yeah,
Yeah.
it definitely goes both ways. That's for sure. Justin,
Hey,
what's your thoughts on this whole thing?
There he is.
well, I mean, if we're talking about fact versus speculation and all the other stuff, I mean, this is one of the unusual things about this subject is the facts are different for everybody.
Yes, I will agree with you
Right?
there.
So, I
Yep.
mean, you guys have had experiences. I'm not an experiencer. I've just, been following the subject for pretty much my entire life.
Yeah.
And so you guys have experiences. Well, those are your facts, right? But you can't prove them to anybody else. It's all your anecdotal. It's
That's
a fact to you
No.
because you've experienced it, but it's not a fact to anybody else.
All
And I
right.
think that's one of the things that makes this subject so hard to pin down, right?
Yeah.
And then
absolutely.
also the idea, what is evidence for some people isn't
Is not
evidence
for-
for somebody else.
Yeah.
You
Good
know,
point.
and so when we're talking about trying to relate this to non-believers or people that don't even have an idea on the subject, we're laying out all these facts. Like, man, because we've studied this stuff, we understand footprints and trackways and the differences between a human footprint, a bear overstep, and the markers of a potential Sasquatch, footprint, or all these other
Right.
things. And to us, those are facts because we've been in it and we've studied it. But for somebody else that's totally new to it, they're going, well, it could be any one of these things. How do you know?
Right.
You know, and to them, that's not a fact. That's supposition on our part.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. And that reminds me of something when I was on with Chad and Bob last week. I sent the pictures I sent you, Chad. Those are, like you said, those are my facts. Even like Bob said when we were going through them, he said, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm having trouble seeing what you're talking about in that picture.
Right.
Yeah.
Because those aren't, not anyone else's facts, but mine. You know what I mean? So I definitely see what you're saying, Justin. That's a good point. You
Well-
remember the one I'm talking about, right, Bob?
Yeah, and Chad, but yeah, so there's an inherent
Yeah.
problem with photographic evidence.
Yeah.
It's never going to be accepted as evidence
Never.
because
Oh,
of the quality of camera we're dealing with. Typically, is our phones. You don't have
Yes.
a high quality Nikon telephoto lens available to quickly shoot something you weren't expecting to see in the first place.
Got one right here.
Absolutely.
That's
There you
why, that's why the common wisdom is it's going to take a body. But when was the last time you came across a dead bear?
Exactly. That's that was my fame. That was my comeback to many people for many years, and they'd say, hey, you're fucking crazy.
Right.
Well,
You can use
how
a
many-
mountain lion skeleton, come across one of those.
Yeah.
There
You
were, not to veer off subject here, but you said the bear
Great.
thing. And I don't think people understand how many bear there are out there.
Oh
So
my God.
we really should see more of these skeletons and find them, not necessarily the grizzlies and the browns, but more so the blacks everywhere.
The blacks. Yeah.
There were 3,200 deer killed in Pennsylvania this bear season. Did I say
Wow.
deer? Bear.
Yeah,
So
bear.
3,200 bear killed in Pennsylvania this past bear season. That's how many of those things there are.
They're all over.
I read that. I had to read that article 4 times to try to let that number soak in my head.
and that's
It's a
just the
lot.
slow bear.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
one.
Those are the ones that were killed. I mean, think of how many more are on top of that. And predators hold.
Grandpa.
With that, Harder?
Grandpa, he's the slow one.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He's
Exactly.
gonna get shot first.
Well, that's like
Absolutely.
that's like on skeleton. That's like, okay, honest to gosh, come on, deer skeletons. I mean, every one of us has probably seen, if you're in the woods, you've probably seen part of a deer skeleton. But have we ever seen a complete deer skeleton laying there? You know, I can never find the heads. Somebody else
Well,
always finds them.
I've
gotta say-
I've seen one in a deer that was, I don't know, it's quite possible it just died of old age and just started to rot in the woods. And
Yeah,
then I found one that was years old, perfectly complete skeleton. You know how bone gets when it gets like the green moss growing on it. So it
Yeah.
had been there
Yep.
for many
Now-
years.
Now, I did say in the woods. I'm not talking roadkill, but yeah, no, I'm with you on that. And you've seen two.
And you know what I'm going to say next. That you guys have all seen that picture I have of that farmer I dealt with. He said, "I need you to come down here. There's some weird stuff going on." So along with all the quote unquote weirdness going on, there's a full deer skeleton hanging 16 feet up, draped over
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
tree limb. Now, here's the weird thing about that. That happened 3 months, same tree, same limb, in an 8-month period.
It happened 3 times or
Three times in
yeah,
an
3
8-month
times.
period.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Same
How-
limb, same tree.
Now,
So
are
I
there lines there? Just throwing that
There
out.
is, but here's the deal. Here's here I am thinking the same thing, right? Lion did it. So we do have him here, yes, to answer your question.
Try climbing
So-
backwards up a tree with a deer in your mouth. Those
Yeah,
cats are
right.
amazing.
Right. Well, the gentleman that John and I used to work with, John, you know who I'm talking about.
Yep.
He knew a gentleman at Washington State or somewhere out there that was a big cat expert, an actual degree, and you know what I mean, educated professor at a university. Okay.
Pantherology.
Now, what he told us is that it's very rare, even for a big full-grown cougar / mountain lion, to drag a big full-size buck 16 feet up in a tree without any limbs underneath it to pounce themselves off. Now, the way he put, now I'm no cat expert, okay, but the way he put it is that yes, jaguars do it, leopards do it the most out of all the big cats, right? Now he said the reason they can do it so easy is their hips are built for it and their jaw structure is built for it. Whereas in comparison to a cougar / mountain lion, theirs aren't as much. And in his opinion, it wasn't done by a cat. And this is coming from a cat expert.
If I remember right, it was almost like dragging something straight up a telephone pole and hanging it
was.
out on a limb.
I'll also make sure you guys get the picture again. John, I know you've seen it. Carter, I don't know if I sent it to you, but I'll send it to all you guys.
I don't
after.
recall that. I'm sitting there
Yeah.
thinking, I don't think I've seen it.
It's
still
just
trying to-
incredible.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out a logical explanation for it. And it still gets back to, okay, how far was this from the guy's house? You said there was no tractor, nothing like that underneath it, no prints. So
Nothing.
and that too, without being prints under it, not
Yeah,
even
strange.
footprints. You know,
Weird,
it makes me
right?
wonder. Well, I know it. Maybe it's like limbo. How low? I know a deer can jump 9 feet up, 15 feet out from standing still. They
Not
do it-
16 feet up in the air.
No, maybe he got screwed up and did 16 feet up and only 9 feet out. But that would make 3 of them all trying to do the limbo thing, right?
That's
No.
what gets
They can
me is
erase
the-
their tracks.
That's right. They can. I forgot
Yeah.
that. Deer do it. They got a bush. Yep.
Yeah, I've got
I
witnesses,
forgot.
several that where they've
Yeah.
seen them dragging bushes behind them and
Yes.
looking
Yeah.
around while they're dragging the bush behind
Well,
them,
that-
Oh, wow.
walking away,
Yeah.
looking at
Yeah.
the witness, and then walking back,
Sasquatch?
keeping their business.
Yeah, I know
They're
the same-
erasing their
yeah.
tracks.
Yeah,
I've
that's
got
it.
several reports like that.
I
It's
always
Yeah.
wondered
awesome.
who did that.
That's a
We're
very thinking
Yeah.
being. That-
Yeah, we're-
Oh,
Of course,
I
we're
was-
laughing. We're laughing when that's said, right?
Yeah.
That implies
no, but
sensitive.
we heard the same thing. Sorry, Joe. I didn't mean to cut you off, but we heard
You're
the
good.
same thing. We interviewed a gentleman that you know very well, Carter. Toby Johnson was telling us that he's got a lot of reports of that same thing you were just talking about.
Mhm. They're no
You know?
fools, you know.
No. When I looked into, when I had my second encounter, I was telling these guys in the podcast last week, I looked in her eyes and I saw thought process, intelligence, just wild.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Joe, I cut you off. I'm sorry, man. Go ahead.
Oh, that's fine. I was, I all I was doing was just putting my 2 cents in there. But yeah, I mean, cats are powerfully strong, and
Absolutely.
I've seen what cats do, to big game
Yes.
when they catch it. Usually they throat it, and they get it, and they choke it out. But
Yes.
and a smaller game, they usually crush their skulls and their teeth.
Mhm.
But the thing is, whenever you see something that high up on a tree, I don't think a cat is going to go 16 feet.
Only
That seems
exactly.
way excessive for a cat. I mean,
Exactly.
usually they'll go like up a few limbs and that's it.
That's it. And there was nothing like we were saying. There was nothing. There's the one limb that the deer was draped over, and underneath it, no branches, anything.
See, that would have to be a deliberate cover.
Something put it there deliberately.
Yeah. Even if now placement. But what I'm getting at is, I'm not saying it was, all right, but you and I've discussed that. It had to be deliberate. It had to be intentional. And I'm not saying it had to be a human being. What I'm saying is intentional and deliberate, like a human being would do it.
Yes.
Like one would do it. Not, which that still enters into it. But if a human being did it, they would cover everything up. Because you'd have evidence that things have been covered up. You always find something out of place.
Yeah, and someone else sent me a photo as well, very similar to that. It was a full-grown deer, full-grown buck, and it wasn't draped over a limb, but you know where it was? It was on the very tippy top of the tree, almost, and kind of jammed down into the point of the tippy top of the tree. Do you understand what I'm saying, guys?
Yeah.
So here's your tree, right? Here's the top of the old tree. Okay. The deer, it had been jammed in. The top of the tree was going through its belly. So it's draped over the top, the very top of the tree.
Impaled.
Thank you. Jesus, God Almighty. I was looking for the word. But
Vlad the Impaler. Yeah.
And now that I can't explain that either.
Well, since we're living on the edge, here would be one if this deer was one of those animal mutilations and was being brought back by aliens.
Well, yeah.
I like this. Go ahead.
Of course, I'm kidding, but you know what I mean. You have to go to the outlandish to really explain that. And if someone's going to hoax it, they aren't going to just wait for somebody to come by. When you hoax something to go to that much trouble, you want to see it instantaneously.
I guess you're right. Yeah, you're right.
In an hour, you're going to see somebody. Not like, well, when they find this, if I'm dead, even I got them.
Yeah.
What's the use in that? You just wouldn't do that.
No.
So the logical thing, the Occam's razor thing, is, well, it sure sounds like a duck. It might be a Sasquatch, maybe it isn't, but it's a good out. It's a good suspect.
It is a good suspect. Yeah.
So wouldn't a Sasquatch just eat it on the ground? Like, what's the thought of it being up high to save it for later? Or?
Yeah. That's a good question. You'd probably, territorial thing, maybe.
Hell, it could be an engagement movie for all we know.
For all we know, yeah, it could be right. Hey, good point, Joe.
It could have been one where the Sasquatch is going like, "Watch, I'll get Jeremiah to come back here 2 more times."
Could be. Could freaking be. Who the hell knows, right?
Yeah.
This guy's a real jerk. Let's do it again.
Watch. He looked in my eyes one time, and I got him. Then watch, I'll get him 2 more times. Yeah.
Stupid fool. But yeah, no, that's definitely a good point.
Baby whale with you when you go in the woods. But there's a thing about when people, like the majority of society doesn't give Bigfoot a thought. It doesn't even occur to them. There's a small slice of humanity that is either interested in or has, there's a smaller slice that has had an encounter. So the popularity of it, it is definitely got a limited audience.
Yes.
There's people that you either like it or you don't.
Right.
And I know. So my question is, I'm going to say something. I'm not going to say any names here, but
No,
there's a
go ahead.
certain Southern gentleman that specializes in doing in-depth analysis of the Patterson film. Do we know who this is, everybody?
Yeah, I got a good idea.
Yeah, I
Justin,
think so.
you know.
All right. So anyway, I don't know whether I really got involved with a thing he did years ago with it was Paris, Texas, and it was a whole series of video recordings that had been made by a property owner. Or am I still talking sense to you guys? Or
Yes. To
Yep.
me, you are. Yeah. Anyway.
you know,
Chicken coop.
yes, and the barn and
Okay.
Yeah, the
there were
white
other
one.
Fence
things,
jumper.
the tires, lots of tire action, and the
Yeah.
fence jumper. Thank you. And you know, I almost feel like that guy was intentionally trying to get under somebody's skin.
Yeah.
And like there was one that was like, I think there was like a picnic table up in a tree.
Yeah.
And that's a little weird. Yeah.
And so like that fence jumper guy, he was lanky, and that was like the one that I saw here in Pennsylvania.
Built like a basketball player, you said.
Built like a basketball player, more
Yeah.
so than a big bulky beast
Bulky thing.
that lives in Idaho. But this you know, this guy that did this, he went through a lot of trouble and put some miles on his vehicle to drive over there and do comparison photos and stuff. And man, I was seriously impressed. Now, I also heard rumors that this landowner guy was extremely tall. Has anybody else heard this?
Not
No.
that part. Yeah.
I've sort of
Okay,
lost
the
you.
guy
Go ahead.
that apparently there was a divorce, and this whole situation is untenable now because the wife wants nothing to do with it,
Okay.
and she's the one that ended up with the property. And you know, where I'm trying to go with this is stuff like that really lends itself to a lot of skepticism, and people that
Yes.
would say, I mean, look, this is crazy, you know. There's no way. Like there was that one video where there were two objects fighting over a tire in the distance, and the way they would film these, they would film them into a mirror because they felt that the camera's autofocus infrared would mess with these creatures and would let them know that they were there. So their solution to that was putting a mirror up and then putting the camera at the mirror to watch what was going on behind it. So everything's kind of reversed.
Okay.
And there's the scene with the two creatures arguing over a tractor tire. And then another one walks out. Have you guys seen that piece of footage?
I haven't.
The one that
No.
walked out was the one that walked out, MK, I'm sorry, I said the name. He estimated that thing at 14 feet.
Wow.
That's that would be gargantuan.
Now, that video is online, you know, it's Greenwave 2010 if you want to ever watch any of his videos, and that one is amazing. Firstly, you have two creatures that are easily 8 to 9 feet arguing over a tire, and then you have one come on camera that's estimated with the height of the building versus it is 14 feet.
Wow.
And now I've heard of big ones. I've never seen one, thank goodness. The one I saw in Idaho was big enough, but I can only imagine what a creature like that. And then the other was scurry off. The two others scurry off as soon as that big one comes into the frame. It comes over and it's like, what are you kids doing out here?
Yeah, let's get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Right.
So
That's
I don't
big.
know.
I mean, I can't even imagine.
And that whole video series, to me, I may have had a little bit of a period where I was extremely into that, and like, 3 or 4 months, I watched every video I could of that whole series of his. And some of them were compelling. Some of them were really interesting. I mean, some of them were just stupid. Like there was one where a loaf of bread flew in front of a camera. And we were to believe that a Bigfoot threw that loaf of bread.
Yeah.
I thought it was aliens, but that's okay.
No.
No.
there's always that, you know.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I'm skeptical of. My mother even had an encounter back in 1973. My mother saw a UFO from 200 feet away. It was absolutely, she described it as enormous, and it hovered right at the treetops, not, 200 yards from our house.
Well, is that a UFO or a flying saucer? There's a difference.
This one was a flying saucer.
Okay.
Now, do you guys subscribe to the idea?
She described it. She wrote it down. She drew a picture of it on an index card and put it in her address book. She stuck it in there. And years later, and I think it was 1986, 87, Bryant Gumbel, who was a reporter for NBC, did a UFO thing on TV. And we were sitting there in the living room, me and my mom, watching this show. And they showed a picture of a UFO that had been taken in Russia. Or a flying saucer, for lack of a better word. And my mom really described it. And she jumped up out of her chair and said, "That's the one that was right outside our house." And she went to her. Then I had never heard of any of this. My mom never told me this story.
Right.
And here I am. This is, years later. I'm working. I got a family and stuff. I just happened to be spending some time at my mom's house one night watching the UFO thing because she had the good cable. And she whipped that card out and showed it to me, and I'll be go to hell if that wasn't the exact same thing they just showed on TV.
Wow.
And we're talking from 1873 to 1996. She held on.
So now, Joe, do you subscribe to, or have you talked to witnesses that have the orb encounters prior to or just after a Sasquatch thing? I'm trying to figure this out.
Okay.
I'm stuck between it's an animal. Go ahead.
I have no personal experience with that, but I used to communicate with Stan Gordon pretty frequently.
Oh, cool.
And he's told me a few stories where he says the creature that I described, the one that I saw when I was 10 years old, he says he has descriptions of that exact same creature, but that one was carrying an orb. It was actually carrying an orb.
Wow, carrying an
orb. That's pretty. I mean, I gotta admit, I've experienced. That's why I've changed my view on what these things are over the years, because over the last fight, I told you guys this last week, there's been so much weird shit. And when I say weird shit, that's what I'm talking about, is stuff like that.
Yeah.
That I've seen before and after an experience or an encounter. Carter, I know, what do you want to throw some input in on this? I think you're pretty educated on that aspect of it.
Which part?
About the before and after encounters, with whatever
orbs,
lights,
weird stuff,
UFO
stuff.
Right.
Well, I have a habituation witness.
Okay.
Where I go visit them about once a year, and they see them. I'll say fairly regular. For us folks, fairly regular is probably once a week they interact with them in some way, shape, or form. They're that present. But often, day and night, they have a blue orb that will come into the house after or before an interaction. Now, when it comes in the house.
Wow.
Flies around and goes back out. Pretty much the way it came in, which is the front. The front of the house faces the road. This is the road to get to their house. But they've told me that's probably happened about a half a dozen times. And a few occasions, and by the way, when it does happen before, they do end up with an encounter. They just, it's sort of like they're in the neighborhood and you're going to run into one. And invariably, they always do when they go out. And so they do run into them. So, but yeah, so that stuff does happen, and that is their reality. So how do you say we're just seeing things? Well, it's because you don't have any basis for agreeing with it. Like, oh yeah, I believe in that, but the skeptic won't, and that's why they don't talk about it.
Yeah.
The thing is,
they also think craft.
It just complicates matters even more than it already is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's the more you dig, you guys know, the more questions you answer.
Right.
100 more pop up.
More questions. So listen,
that-
being new to the roundtable, I want to ask Justin, how did he get interested in the topic? Because I'm not an experiencer. Chad, we have
Not an
but we're
experiencer.
We're
Well,
big
maybe. I
believers.
don't know. It's possible. Remember, Bob.
Yes, I
We had
remember.
the one thing. Could be, might not be. Don't know.
So it's interesting. I want to hear Justin's point on, please, sir.
Well, that's quite a story in and of itself. I was born and raised in the Amazon jungle in South America in Colombia.
Wow.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I lived there till I was about 10 years old. And much of that time was actually in the middle of the Amazon with native tribes. And I grew up with the belief that we just don't know what's all out there because we didn't know what was all out there, right? And my dad had some experiences down there with what would be described as a large ape creature up in the trees. He said about the size of chimpanzees, which are not supposed to exist in the New World at all.
Right.
In the Amazon, they don't have great apes at all.
Yep.
And then our Indian tribe that we lived with also had their mythological stories. To them, they weren't mythological. They were just fact of life of a large bipedal creature that if it caught you outside of the safety of the group at night, outside of the campfire, that it would catch you and basically drain your blood.
Would that be the Mapinguari?
Well, the Mapinguari is more of a Brazilian thing.
Okay.
And yeah, generally believed to be like a ground sloth, proto sloth type thing.
Okay. Okay.
They perfectly describe these creatures as 5 to 6 feet tall, hairy, bipedal, arms hanging down past their waist to their knees. During the day, they would sleep in hollow trees and wouldn't come out. At night, they prowled around looking for their victims.
So what did they call it?
Similar to the rock ape from Vietnam. I don't know about the blood sucking thing, but I know the description is about the same height.
Well,
5, 6 feet, right?
All throughout the Andes in South America and the Amazon, all the regions have their local Bigfoot creatures.
Oh yeah,
just like in the United States. Like a lot of people don't realize that, but South America is rife with legends of these creatures at different elevations and different types and stuff. So growing up, and then we came to the States. Coming to the States when I was 10, saw the Patty film on TV, just like everybody else has. I believe it was In Search of with Leonard Nimoy, but I just got into this. And that's when I heard my dad's stories and I started looking up books. And I started seriously reading the reports right about the age of 15 when we got our first real internet connection. And I would just spend like hours and stay up to 4 or 5 in the morning just reading reports. And then Jeremiah, that's my main background. I do the report research.
Yep.
And I make the connections between all these reports that I've read and going on with stuff now and just kind of do it all together. I call myself a Fortean research because I believe in researching all the crazy stuff. I'm into everything that's out there that's weird. But Bigfoot is just kind of like one of my main focuses. I just love the idea of Bigfoot and the type of research that goes into it and all the evidences and the anecdotal stories and just everything. So that's kind of where I've fallen into as far as my forte. And now I live in the best place in the world to do Bigfoot research, so it's even better.
That's awesome.
Open-mindedness helps a lot in this, being able to listen to someone and hear what they're having to say, and at least you have to show interest in what they're talking about.
Yes.
And no matter how far-fetched it is or how crazy it can be, because we all know that sometimes it can get just outright odd.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Oh man,
there's a lot to just listening, and being somebody you can open up with. On that topic alone, I have. Does anybody else have a person that they know has had an encounter that will not talk about it, no matter how hard you try?
Absolutely. Yep, one in particular. Yep, man, I have a friend in Idaho. He and his wife both saw this thing, and they will not talk about it. They will not talk about it, and it drives me batty.
Because they're scared, or what?
I've approached them individually, and they just will not talk about it.
And it probably brings back the memory of a almost like a PTSD type thing.
Hey Joe.
Yeah.
What's their religious background?
I would just say pretty much basically typical American Christian.
Okay.
They don't necessarily go to church, but they put up a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the particulars of everything. I know they're
I just wondered
their
and
morals.
how they would. Yeah. Okay, it's cool. Yeah.
It
I wish I
violates
knew.
his ideology.
I guess I would lend them to be.
But is it because they're scared of being ridiculed, or because they're just so scared of what happened they don't even want to bring it up?
Whenever I bring it up with the wife, she's more like, all right, look, we saw it. The only thing she'll say is we were together, and this was when they were young and they were still dating, and they were at the husband's grandmother's house, and they both saw the creature right outside their bedroom window. It was staring at them, and they both witnessed it. That's all I've gotten. No, they won't give me any other particulars. And the husband will not talk about it at all. And when I bring it up with him, he gets irritated with me. And I'm just like, well, kind of back off.
Because it shakes their religion, or who knows?
Something.
I don't know if it might, it might. But I think they just, as a couple, I think they discussed the topic and they just pretty much decided to say, we're not talking about this anymore.
Well, Joe, I just want to congratulate you. The Rams did win
today.
Oh,
they did.
You're wearing your jersey. Yeah. They did not cover the spread. So where we live, it's very important to cover the spread. They lost with Vegas, but you're going to the Super Bowl, sir. Congratulations.
Well, I'm a Steeler fan. But
me too. I am too.
Oh, cool.
So Big Ben's done.
My cousin played for the Rams.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
His jersey.
Oh, that is 87. Nice.
Kurt Warner.
Anyway, the Rams are my NFC team.
Okay, awesome.
I lived amongst Seahawks fans for many years, and God, that was annoying.
That's rough. Yeah.
I bet. Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Let's get back to topic here, but go Rams.
Yeah.
My wife's from LA, so that helps too.
Yeah, they definitely. To answer your question, Chad, when he brought up whether the individuals he was talking about are just scared or afraid of ridicule, or it brings up bad memories. The gentleman that I'm speaking of, I actually called him to come on and see if he talk about it on the trail, the show where I do the interviews, and he said, Jeremiah, he's like, I just can't do it. He's like, I can't relive that whole thing. It was that terrifying to him. What happened was they were hunting downstate in central New York, and on top of that, the people he was with busted his balls for 20 years, so that didn't help. Now what happened was he was sitting in his tree stand, okay, and he looked to the right, and down the hill he saw this upright bipedal black creature, and here he is. He's starting to trying to process it already. Didn't the thing walk 10 feet in front of his tree stand? It turned its waist because we all know they can't turn their neck very well. So, it kind of gave him one of these and looked at him dead in the eye, and it just kept walking. When he got back to where they were all parked, he had soiled himself. He was just petrified. They said, you look like you're white as a ghost. You're white as a ghost. What the hell happened? He said, I'm not going to tell you. You wouldn't believe me if I told you. And they said, oh, come on, tell us. Something must have scared you. He said, well, I saw a Bigfoot. And they immediately started to laugh and pick at him. And for 20 years, this guy has had to deal with them busting his balls. So, in a way, when I called him and I, asked him to come on the show, I think he was kind of, in his voice, I could hear the relief. Someone, must believe me, but he just wouldn't get on the air and talk about it because, like you were saying, Chad, it's either he's afraid of the ridicule that he's gotten for 20 years, or it'll probably bring back some bad thoughts. I think it's probably a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at the psychological aspect of it, I mean, that guy just experienced what could be described as the most traumatic experience in his life. And while his brain is still in that mode, he's getting this negative reinforcement from his friends.
Absolutely.
And from a psychological aspect, those are all tied directly together to the same event.
Yes.
So it's going to bring up all that stuff as he's reliving it. And I don't blame him at all for not wanting to pull all that
No,
out.
I don't either.
You know?
Yeah, double negative
Hey,
all
that's-
around.
That's dramatic.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't either. I don't blame him either, Justin.
We've all got, like in our past growing up, we've all got memories that we don't want to remember. We've all
That's
got
why it is
stuff that,
repression.
Yeah.
oh
Your
yeah,
brain represses it.
absolutely. I mean, there's like so many bullies and so forth.
Yep.
There's so many things. If you think back, you were like 6 years old,
Yeah.
and you have to, I said 6 years old. Okay. You have to realize that that's all part of growth. And these people that may have caused this, you look at them there, they're like, oh, hey, how you doing? I haven't, it's nothing to them.
Yeah, they don't even know.
They don't remember.
Right.
They don't remember. But, I can't help but think about this couple that saw this outside the window. Now, don't know nothing about them, but if they were raised in the city, they might be thinking that they were entertaining demons, or one was, and that's kind of a logical. That's
Mhm.
why I asked what their religion was.
You explain the unknown with what you know.
Right.
Yep. Yep.
They are to give you their background individually. She is a director at a nursing home. She's a director of activities.
Mhm.
She's been one for years. So she's kind of like award-winning and has had lots of accolades in the industry. And
Very intelligent lady.
Yeah.
And he's a retired equipment operator. He did like road construction mostly and surveying.
Okay.
They're, when I lived in Idaho, they were like literally, my best friends. But we went over there for football games, for the holidays. I spent 7 Thanksgivings at their house. This wasn't just something, and I don't even know how the topic, got originated. I'm sure I probably did it, but whenever I would look in his eyes, when I would approach him about it, it was just absolute, like, I felt like the guy was going to piss himself.
You saw fear.
The emotional drag whenever I even brought up the subject was just, it made me sick to even talk about it, which is why I just gave up.
You saw fear.
I moved back to Pennsylvania. We went to their house. They gave us a going away party.
Well, Joe, you saw fear more than anger, or maybe
absolutely
a bit of both. Yeah.
Horror, not fear. It was beyond fear. It was horror. Absolutely horror.
Sure.
It would be like, watching your best friend get mangled by a polar bear. This is what. But and all I could get out of them was, they saw it, and they both saw it, and they both, they were there. She told me that. He wouldn't even elaborate.
And there's a good point. How many of us have actually seen polar bears? Live or dead?
I've seen a couple at the zoo.
I've seen.
The
I was going to
zoo,
say I've seen 2, and they were at the zoo. Yeah, right in the middle of the city. Yeah. Anyway,
only drinking Coca-Cola at Christmas time.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Every Christmas.
Having fun. Yeah. Decorating the trees. Yep.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the Inuits are up there having to deal with those things every day. They like come into town and stuff and just wreak havoc. Absolutely. They're the largest land predator on the planet.
Yeah.
And they're very, very aggressive. And
extremely.
That's not a bear. I actually understand that they're genetic cousin of the grizzly bear. The grizzly brown bear and the polar bear are actually the same species, just adapted to different environments.
That's why they're mating.
I've read it
now.
too.
Yeah, that's why with the dwindling of the habitat, it depends upon National Geographic or which scientist at the time. All right.
Yeah.
But the dwindling of the habitat and them being able to mate. Jeremiah, does that mean they are of kind?
What do you mean?
Well, we were talking about it beforehand.
Oh, yeah.
They are of kind.
Yeah. They are of kind. Yes.
Yeah. See what I mean? Yeah.
Yes.
There you go. Yeah.
So, like, I know another problem with the polar bears, and not to get off on this topic, but with the increase in seawater temperature, the ice shelf freezes a little bit less every year.
Yes.
And these polar bears are having to swim farther. to get to where they hunt.
100 plus miles in some cases.
They're drowning at sea and washing up on shore, and they're emaciated, of course, when they actually hit shore. They're just skin and bones because they're trying to get to their old food source, but they can't because the distance has grown too far.
That's sad seeing such an awesome predator, wash up onto a beach and, like you said, emaciated,
Yeah, it's weird to see, it's just like literally skin and bones.
So at some point you're going to find, if I could say this right, you will find a breeding of polar bears that are on the northern shore of above the Arctic Circle.
Yeah, okay.
You see what I'm saying? With they're coming south with the grizzlies, because that would be open and they would not have to swim.
Yeah, I don't even know if like the grizzly bear's turf and the polar bears, I don't even think they overlap.
Well, yeah,
they have to. Yeah, they're breeding. They're breeding. They call them growlers or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not to get off topic, remember the one the guy shot in Canada? Yeah. It had the black circles. It was white, but it had the black circles around its eyes, and they couldn't figure out what this bear was, and they did the DNA on it, and it actually they figured it out as a female grizzly, right, John? Am I saying that right?
Yeah,
a female grizzly
and a male polar,
and bred with a male polar bear, and then they were shocked.
And then there was one fella, if I've got it right. Now this all comes back into Bigfoot in one way or another.
Yeah.
There was one fellow that shot what he thought was a brown bear, and it ended up being a polar bear.
Yeah. So it does happen.
Yeah.
It does happen.
I guess it does overlap, but.
So the breeding is what's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
it gets lonely out there in the winter.
Yeah, it does. You don't want to open your door at the wrong time.
Right.
My daughter had an encounter with a rabid black bear, an absolute mad, completely off its nut black bear.
Oh,
back in let me think what year it was. She was driving that Buick Century that would have been like 2005, 2004.
Sure.
She walked out of. She was staying with my mother up there on Chestnut Ridge, and she walked out of the house, and she was walking towards her car, which was parked in the front of the house, probably about 50 feet away. And she's walking up the sidewalk, and she just happens to see something out of a corner of her eye to the left. She looked, and there was a bear standing there. It's probably 40 feet away or less.
Wow.
And it's like sitting down on its hind legs, and it's looking at her, and it's just like huffing, like, and the only thing she could think to do is run for the car.
Yeah.
And she ran, and she did. Thank God she made it into her car, and she spent the next 20 minutes with this bear trying to get in her car, licking the windshield and coming around to the side of the car trying to get into her. And the Pennsylvania State Police showed up, and the trooper got out of his car, and he like sprang into action. He just jumped out of his car and he slugged it, one shot,
topped it. Yeah,
right, like feet away from my daughter's face.
She had some good perfume, I would assume.
She may have.
Right.
She was working at Taco Bell at the
some
time.
pheromones or something.
My wife is one that Jeremiah, of course. Yeah, my wife's from Minnesota. She's got a couple of bear stories that happened to her. She's the only person that I know of that's had encounters with two black bears at 15 feet away. And
that's pretty wild.
But she also has seen. And Jeremiah, remember, we was going to talk to her about that.
That's right. Yes, I forgot about that.
Yeah. And I've been trying to get her on here because she saw something one night or one morning on the way into work. And
she's an intelligent woman. She's very intelligent.
And get her right now, man. Get her on right now.
Yeah,
right.
She would go, oh, wait a minute. No, I don't have this right. And all
I wish it worked that way. Yeah. But.
Yeah. I would. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But I mean, there's been enough time. She's like, oh, it couldn't have been that now. She's blotting it. Is she blocking it from her mind? No, she'll talk to me about it. But then she feels funny. I don't want to say that. I really don't. Nobody heard me say that.
She talked to me about it. She talked to me and you about it at the same time.
Yeah. But she saw something.
It's
She
a
saw
coping
something.
mechanism.
silhouette, and it
Right.
was it was higher than the corn. It
Wow.
was taller than
There
the
you-
corn, and it was a silhouette, and she saw the reflection of the car lights in its eyes.
Okay, what color did she say? What color were the eyes, John? I forget. She said.
Well, they weren't red. She said it
No,
was like
I've seen
it
them
was like
blue,
okay, yeah.
white.
She said it was like a clear, kind of
Yeah.
creamy green, kind of
Creamy
like a
green, yeah.
reflection in. A deer's eyes are gold. A
Yeah.
raccoon's eyes, I think, are red.
I think a
So-
lot of people are under the misconception that all these things eyes are red, and that's not
Oh, yeah.
true.
They-
I've seen them blue. I've seen them green.
The one I
Ever ready.
spotlighted, like when I hit that one with my mag light in Idaho, I got no
Mm.
eyes on it at all.
None,
It was
right?
different than me looking at you.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
it
And
was
that's
the
why
same.
I think the whole concept, and some of you may disagree with me here, but I am in firm belief that, and I never used to think this way. I used to think like a lot of people do, you got to shine a light in its eyes to get the eye shine back, which in my opinion, that is total BS, because I have seen eyes pop out and then just dissipate, gone, and then bang again. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Well, you
you know
got
what they say
it.
about opinions.
Yeah, they're like noses. We all got them, and they all smell. You thought I was going to go the other way, didn't you?
Exactly.
Well, you've got fish.
Exactly.
You've got fish that do that. You've got insects that do that, but
Right.
neither one of those is a mammal.
This is true.
But who's to say that what is a mammal? It gives milk and has hair,
Right.
I'm warm blooded.
right?
And warm.
And warm-blooded, right? All right. All of these tests we've done on Bigfoot so far has proved that they're warm-blooded, and have hair, and give milk to babies. Right?
They do the live birth.
Oh,
thing.
that's
what it
right.
is. That's the fourth.
That's right. It's
No, because
that and the-
listen.
that the
there's a
Atkins
kid that
diet.
lay
Unless
eggs, so
you're a
that's not one of
platypus.
the classifications anymore.
say
Apparently
again.
platypus.
Say
There's
again,
a
Jesse.
kid that there's animals that lay eggs that are mammals, so that's not
Oh, yeah.
considered a
Yeah.
classification anymore.
Okay.
Live bearing, and then there's also
The
fish and
platypus.
reptilians that do live bearing. So
Yeah.
Yes,
live
there
bearing
is.
is no longer a
Sharks do
mammalian
live births, too.
classification.
Yeah.
Sharks, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just sharks. Carter, what's your whole stance on the eye shine thing? I'm just curious.
Eye glow, which is producing your own light from within.
Yes.
I've seen that once before,
And that's what
Yeah.
I'm talking about. Yeah.
and versus eye shine, which is a reflective
Reflection, right.
glow, eye shine. They're two different things. So
Okay.
I have seen them at probably 40 yards, leading a night up group of all women, walking along a ditch, and their eyes were searching the ground.
Yes.
You could see the little beams coming from their eyes.
Yeah.
And everybody freaked. We had me, 3 women, and 2 kids. I was taking a women and children only group out, and we all saw it, and it was phenomenal. Of course, nobody was recording it, but I was busy leading these people. But it was phenomenal, and it just, until you see that, just like if you see a being, you're gonna not believe it until it happens to you. Then now that I've
Until it
seen
happens
that,
to
I've seen it. You can't take it away from me. People are gonna go, oh yeah, right, yeah, okay.
That, right.
But
Yeah.
it was as real as could be.
Yeah.
At first, when we saw these creatures, we thought they were crawling on the ground because the eye glow was so close from the face to the ground. We later found out, we went back the next morning to recreate, and they were actually walking in a old dry creek bed about 7 foot deep, and they were
Yeah.
looking over, just peeking up over at us
Oh.
and scouting the ground. I mean, that's what and there was scuff marks. We didn't get any prints, but then we figured out what we saw. We thought, oh my God, they're crawling on the ground and somehow, on hands and knees, or even closer than that. Well, no, they were in a ditch. So, but the eye glow was just amazing. It was just like, wow.
It is amazing.
Well,
And
for
marine life can do that. Like somebody else says,
Real
marine
quick,
life.
where was that at?
Yeah.
Carter, where was that at?
Let's see. Where was that
What
at?
region?
Iowa.
Yeah.
Iowa.
Yellow River.
Hmm.
At a horse park that it was vacant. I mean, nobody was really staying there. It was a dead of winter, so there wasn't a lot of people. A lot of people that rode horses. We camped on the part where they always parked all their trailers because there was nobody there. And so that's where it happened. And there's a place called the Horse Trail, which is famous for sightings.
And you said it was all women. You and all women.
Yeah, it was a BFRO expedition.
Okay.
But I was taking a group of all women out because they're attracted to women and children.
Yeah, Carter, good for
I was
you.
just gonna
Well
say,
done, sir.
Yeah. There was no ulterior motive there whatsoever.
I was single at the time. Yeah.
Well, you know,
I was saying what I was thinking.
Smart.
well,
Were
you
they all
know,
hot?
when I have Stacy with me, we get a lot more activity. A lot.
well, you know, for whatever reason, however you want to explain it away, nocturnal animals, they call them nocturnal for a reason, and they all seem to have very good eyesight. Now, I'm not
Yes.
saying that has anything to do or in relationship to, you know, it's been called eye shine up to tonight, and it's eye glow.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it has relationship to do that, but you know, here again, you shine your light into a dog's eyes, well, a fox's eyes, whatever, you do see something. But
Yeah.
they all have I guess what I'm getting at is they have extremely good night vision. So if
Yes.
they have extremely good night vision, then perhaps, I mean, my gosh, in the military, having a light or a torch that has a red lens helps quite, or that's why they have
That's
different
good
colored
mapping.
lenses for your torches.
Yeah.
Great for mapping,
Flashlights.
Yeah.
and it's good. Also good for hunting earthworms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Good
yeah,
snacks.
well,
Yeah, they
the
don't-
old angled flashlight that we used
Got
to
'em.
carry.
Yeah.
That would have it had the blue and the clear and the occlusive, or the what was it
Yes.
called? The opaque lens.
I got
So what-
three
Yeah,
of
the
them
red
in the
one-
other
the red one
room.
was
Yeah.
very handy.
So which one's good for earthworms? The opaque?
The red one.
Red one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
like, when it just after it rains and you go out and with the red light and shine it at the ground, and the earthworms come up out and they lay on the ground with their most of their body still underground. You just
Yeah.
grab them and
Yeah.
pinch them right at the dirt and rip them right out.
My kids, Mike, I gotta tell you this one now. Earthworms, okay. My kids heard you could shock them suckers out of the ground, right? I had
What is
to,
that?
I had stopped one of the boys because he had a couple of nails, gutter nails,
Yeah,
and
aluminum.
he
gutters.
had and he had an extension cord run out the window. And I was like, he's getting ready to. Then his brother's going to flip the switch and
That's
turns it
funny.
on, right?
Yeah, it is.
You can actually just do that.
That's
with a
actually how
12
my
battery.
grandpa used to get his earthworms for going fishing back in the day. He had
Really?
a small car battery,
Yeah.
and he had some long dowels that he kept in the ground, and he'd hook them up, turn them on, and they
Yeah.
start popping out of the ground.
Oh yeah,
Pop
they
right out.
That's
They-
cool.
they shoot out of the ground and
Yeah.
they corkscrews and
Interesting. So hey, listen, we interviewed Ron Moorhead, the Sasquatch Sierra Sounds guy.
yeah, Sierra
I
Sound.
met him.
Yeah,
He's a
that's
great
right.
guy.
So it was very interesting, but I want to know what you got if you had a chance. You had an encounter. I know you. So most of you have an encounter, but if you could take a shot or not, where you thought it may put one down, would you do it? Because this is what
No.
Chad and I have wondered from your group.
Absolutely.
No. Okay.
I actually took 2 shots at one. Not
Oh,
at
really?
it. I took 2 shots at it to scare it off.
With what?
Just
Oh,
tear it
okay.
Put it up
On the
in air.
distance, then.
There was, this thing was 30 feet away from me, and I put my gun up in the air, squeezed off 2 rounds, leaving me with 4, because that was really scary when the lights went out.
So did it
We had
scare
to
you
put
even
the
more? Or?
campfire out. When we put the campfire out, was absolutely the most frightened I've ever been in my life. To be left alone in the woods,
With that
technically
there.
alone. I was with my girlfriend, but she would have been not much help.
She wasn't going to sacrifice herself.
Petrified. She was absolutely petrified. Dogs were just pissing themselves, literally.
Oh gosh! Wow.
And there was nothing I could have done. The 44 Magnum against something like that is absolutely
going to do
useless.
nothing.
The best thing I could do was shoot it into the air, which is what I did, and it
Right.
worked. I'm still here.
So he turned around and it turned around and went away from that, or
shortly there. Well, there was, the encounter. The whole thing lasted like 45 minutes. It was a drawn out affair, and it was very, very unnerving. And whenever I finally fired the shots, it made it move off, and then it broke a tree, and then it took off through the woods. It ran through the creek. It splashed twice as it ran through the North Fork of the Coeur d'Alene River, and went splash, splash, and then up the hillside. We could hear it going up the hillside for minutes afterwards. Although I have to admit, I could barely hear it because I just discharged a 44 Magnum in my face.
So did you and your
yeah.
did you and your girlfriend break up, or did she stay with you?
No, we broke up. Which is really weird.
Immediately after.
No, it was. Unfortunately, the pain drug on. Who asked that question?
Bob.
Okay, Bob. I actually have a breakup letter that she wrote me that has in it that we saw Bigfoot in the woods.
Oh, okay.
One of the lines in the breakup letter is that whole thing about seeing Bigfoot in the woods. Because she was trying to list things, the things that we did.
Why she's pregnant? Yeah.
And I don't ever want to see Bigfoot in the woods.
Yeah, not only you're an a-hole, but I also saw Bigfoot. You draw it.
Yeah.
Because of you.
Yeah.
Right. I kept that letter for that reason. It's really the only tangible evidence I have.
Yeah, that's
because
cool.
she and I definitely.
It is form of evidence if you look at it like that. It really is.
Yeah, multiple spectators.
That's all I have, that she was there.
So now we asked this question of Jeremiah on the podcast last week, but I'd be interested in getting folks' opinions. Why is it that we hear about people who will have encounters and multiple encounters? They'll move all the way across the country and have another encounter, and then you'll have someone like me who I get nothing. Nothing.
I think it's on them.
Joe's a perfect example of that too.
I can't explain that one. I was
only
in Idaho. I had been in Idaho a year. I moved there in 2010, and then this happened August 10th of 2011. So there was a very short period between when the first, or whenever I had moved there to where I actually got out in the woods, and literally the first time I went remote camping, it happened. Yeah. And I haven't been camping since.
I'm sure.
I think it's because these people like to drink and they find out they can't count.
I honestly, I was the other day, actually earlier today and yesterday, I'm thinking, what am I going to do with all this camping equipment I have? I'm never going to use it again. Go through it and salvage what I can and have a yard sale, I guess. But honestly, guys, I can't do it anymore. I tried. The whole scenario of when that encounter occurred took place around a camping trip.
Yeah.
Surprise, it was. She and I went up there on a Wednesday. I was already on vacation, had been for several days, and then her vacation started Tuesday night. We went up there on Wednesday, set up camp, and on Thursday we were supposed to be joined by two other couples, her sister and brother-in-law, and then my best friend and his wife. And we were up there, maybe a total of 9 hours before all this shit broke loose. And I actually have a photograph of me taken earlier in the day, and later that evening was when all that came down. So it was extremely, extremely traumatizing. And I have not been camping since. Yes, I've been in a tent at my friend's, the couple that I was telling you about earlier.
Yeah.
They have a little piece of lake property in Twin Lakes, Idaho, and I went camping at their little lake property, but they were in their giant RV 20 feet away, and then their best friend was 20 feet away in his RV.
Living the life.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Ice cream lights and everything. Yeah. Anyway, the whole experience just turned me off. I was like, I don't want to be alone in the woods again, ever again. And even in the last few years before I, when I met a friend there in Idaho, and he and I, he had an encounter down in Sierra Madre while he was deer hunting with a friend. Something ran past their tent, boom, 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 and he was extremely interested, and he read my account. You guys know Kelly Shaw from Rocky Mountain?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I had talked to Kelly about mine, and I give him what I told, what I gave the Beefro, pretty much Kelly has as well. And my soon-to-be friend read my account online, and he got a hold of me, and he and I went out and had a beer together and started talking, and he told me about his encounter, and I told him about mine. And he and I started going in the woods together. And buddy, let me tell you, we were fucking packing. I'm sorry.
I bet.
You would have to.
Yeah, you're all right. You're all right.
Yeah.
And I was not messing around, because I know that 44 Magnum was absolutely useless. So after that, it was 12 gauge all the way. And I
had
never
to have my
with the
choice.
intent.
Yeah.
Never with the intent. And you have to realize,
Right.
living in the Rocky Mountains, there are other things other than Bigfoot in the woods.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There are horrific monsters. You got grizzly,
Absolutely.
black bears,
Cats.
rains, whatever you want, cats of all
Yeah.
sorts.
Yeah.
Who the hell else knows what
My
else?
encounter started, the very second my encounter started, when the dogs came running back out of the woods. That was my belief. My belief was that there was a cat, and I thought, oh, it's
Okay.
I called it a panther at the time. Boy, I got a lot of flack online about that. But yeah, this thing came. The dogs saw something that initially they thought maybe was friendly, and then they found out maybe that it wasn't, and they came running back out of the woods. And then my first thought was, oh, there must be a cat. It was either a bear or a cat.
Mm.
And yeah, that was a crazy night, guys. And
I
that
bet.
pretty much wiped any skepticism off my map.
Off your map, yeah.
So
Well,
was there any?
gentlemen-
Was there any?
Oh,
I have
go
one
ahead,
question. Was there any stress between you and your girlfriend prior to the sighting, where you were like maybe putting out like anything crazy going on that night?
To
To attract the Sasquatch, basically.
Yeah.
pretty much
Right.
pretty much it was a very relaxed camping sort of situation. We went up, we set up some tents. We had we had just made dinner. We didn't take any food with us, because we were waiting for Thursday night when everybody got there. We
When the
were going
friends
to run
came.
down the road to Smelterville, Idaho. There's a Walmart there. It's about 20-30 minutes away. And we were all going to go like shopping for the trip, for the next couple days. So I grabbed a few steaks and some oysters and some hot dogs and whatnot. And that's all we had in our cooler. So we cooked the steaks, we cooked the oysters, and we were just finishing cleaning up for dinner and putting everything away and settling down by the fire when all this shit broke loose.
Was she complaining, your girlfriend?
No,
Okay.
no,
So no
that was a
like
very
stress.
pleasant trip. No, there was
Just
no
wondering.
stress. Not
Yeah.
that time.
Right. Okay.
Your girlfriend,
time,
so
he said.
yes.
There were many other times.
Yeah.
We all know, we can all relate to that one.
But a calm evening. Calm evening.
Fine complaining.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
There was nothing like that. It was a very
Okay.
fun time.
Understood.
And
Well,
we had a
gentlemen-
good time right up until that. So, but I don't mean to get off topic and go.
No,
but
that's all right.
That's my main experience with these creatures. Like, the 45 minutes I spent like kind of battling one of these things.
That's a long
It's not-
time.
It was not a good night, man. It was not
Sure.
a good night. And like I said, I had to go to the doctor. I laid awake for like 3 weeks. I could not sleep. I could not. Every time I closed my eyes, I would see this and relive the whole thing in my brain over and over again.
Yeah.
And I'm finally like, you know what? My job is way too stressful, and I have way too much responsibility to not be, on my game.
Now, have you
I
also
need to
had a dogman encounter, or just the Bigfoot?
I'm sorry, repeat that.
Have you had a dogman encounter, or just the Bigfoot?
I have no experience with what is referred to as the dog man. I have nothing when it comes to that. I
Okay.
don't know anything about it. I try to avoid that topic simply because, I just don't know anything about it.
No, yeah.
Understood.
Yeah.
So,
Well, guys, I hate to
that
do
was-
this.
that was stressful.
I could go on all night. I know the rest of us could too, but unfortunately, the wife is calling upon. But hey, Chad, Bob, thank you so much for coming on. It was an honor.
Thanks for having us, guys. We really
It was an
appreciate
honor.
it. And
Yeah,
we would like to poach some of your guests here to come on our show, if you don't mind.
No, of course not, man.
So we will ask you for contact info. We'd love to have you guys on, talk about your experiences and some of your research. We're all about it.
Look up Bigfoot the Indiana Deer Hunter on YouTube.
Okay.
I'm writing that down right now.
That's me.
Bob,
Oh,
did you write that down, Bob?
That's
cool.
me.
Yeah. So can you want to tell everyone, Chad, Bob? I'll go through everybody, but how people can watch your podcast and stuff.
Yeah, so you can just look for the Basement Hangout on any of your standard podcast apps, or you can go to thebasementhangout.com. Check us out. We're into everything from Bigfoots to UFOs, UAPs, NFTs, current events, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Everything under the sun.
Cool. So I'm gonna have you guys.
We love what you guys are doing.
You guys on. What's that, Bob?
We love what you guys are doing. So
Yeah,
big
we're
thanks
totally
to you.
into it.
Thank you so much for having us. Yeah, man.
Can I ask
Absolutely.
Carter? You had mentioned at the beginning that you have a book.
Oh yeah,
Awesome
I got
books.
2 books: Sasquatch Evidence of an Enigma 1 and Enigma 2. And
Very
2 I just released about a month ago. So
Evidence of an
they're full color, and I have a book deal with Beyond the Fray Publishing, and they're going to be doing the black and white versions and the Kindle
Beyond the
version.
Fray. That's what's her name?
Shannon.
Grow, Shannon Grow.
Yeah, Grow.
Yeah.
Her and Steph have a thing where they do they made a documentary last year or a year or so ago. Okay, very good.
So how can we get a hold? How can people watching get a hold of you, Joe, if they have any questions?
Well, normally I would just say like Facebook is easiest because Messenger and all that.
Okay.
But my email is just Joe Vogel 4 at Gmail. So
With the number sign?
yeah, Joe Vogel 4.
Number sign 4, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Or
And
number sign
all
4.
lowercase. So
And like
Yeah,
you
that-
guys said, they just the basement podcast.
Basement Hangout, yeah, Basement Hangout.
Basement, yeah, I know, I get it fucked up.
No worries, buddy, no worries. I do too, man, trust me.
Well, I'd like to have, like I was saying, like we said last week, I want to have you guys on the trail also, because on
Oh,
that
hell
show,
yeah.
that's our interview show, and we'd like to have you guys on for discussion. We get into everything on that show. That's
Yeah, I love it,
our version of everything.
We're totally
So,
down. We'd love that.
sounds great.
So is
Justin.
is Nick on that show as well, or?
Yes, Nick's one of my partners on that show.
Okay, cool, yeah.
We love Nick as well.
Yeah, he's a good.
Nick's great guy, very knowledgeable. Justin, how can people get a hold of you if they have any questions?
Hey, best way to get a hold of me is Facebook, just Justin Decker. I live in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, so make sure you got the right one.
can you spell that last
A
name?
picture with a guy with a bandana, so you'll know it's me if I got a bandana on.
Yeah, that's your trademark.
Justin,
I'm gonna have to.
Different podcast guys, Paranormal Roundtable. I've been on there a few times. I'm going to be on Thomas Martin's podcast this weekend. Jeremiah sent the link for the last one he did.
Yeah.
He asked me to be on Friday with him.
Awesome.
I'm going to speak in a couple different events this year. I've already got lined up, so I got a lot of stuff going
Awesome.
on. Yep. Feel free to hit me up, and I'm open to any kind of discussion on any angle. You know me, I'm into all of it. So
That I do.
anybody want to, feel free, message me up.
Justin, the next time I'm down in Gatlinburg, I'm going to look you up.
Look me up, man. Absolutely.
Have my wife, my kid, I'll go out for dinner or something.
Where are we going to drink, Justin? That's what I want to know.
Well, listen,
Yeah, that's a good question.
I work at a little place called Margaritaville, so I mean,
Hey, there we go. Awesome. Carter, how can people get a hold of you if they have any questions, man?
Send $20 to my. No, never mind.
For postage.
Yeah, www.relichominid.com. You can buy the 2 books. If you want to just email me, sqexplorer@gmail.com. Real easy. So, or Facebook, works too.
Awesome.
Very good. Very good. Mr. Schweitzer, last but certainly not least.
Well, there's always Facebook, but if I haven't given you a hey, hit me up on Facebook, I'm gonna ignore
Don't bother.
you. Yeah,
I'm skeptical of that.
I've
I
had
sent you a
a
friend
Right.
request. I sent you a friend request. You didn't accept it, so I am a
oh,
skeptic.
you're a skeptic. There you go. No, I haven't been to it in like about 4 days, but I've had somebody do some things, so I'm kind of sitting back watching. So I would say the way to get a hold of me is through Jeremiah.
Oh, well,
Right.
hey.
That'll work, won't it, Jeremiah?
That would be my honor.
I am
you know-
just I'm sitting up in a tree waiting for whoever it is. Let's just put it that way.
There you
like
go.
it. Yeah.
You can get a hold of me. If anyone you want to come on the trail or even join us as a guest on this show, get a hold of me at onthetrail.jf@gmail.com or check out our YouTube channel, Band of Bigfoot Brethren Paracryptid Research, or our group page on Facebook, which is On the Trail Cryptid Paranormal Research Group. So get in touch, and thank you everybody for tuning in tonight. And again, thank you all of you, everybody. I love you
Thanks,
all.
everyone.
Thank you for
Yep.
coming on,
Well,
guys.
Pleasure to meet you guys.
Much appreciated. And we will see y'all next week. Have a good night,
All right.
fellas.
Everybody
Have
have
a
a
good
good
week, guys.
Monday.
You
See
too,
you guys.
Happy Groundhog Day.
All right,
Yeah.
buddy. You too.